How do you become one of the greatest pitchers in baseball history and still spend most of your life fighting demons no batter could see? That was the life of Grover Cleveland Alexander, a man who could dominate hitters, but struggled to escape tragedy off the field. Alexander was born in 1887 in the tiny farming town of Alba, Nebraska, one of 13 children. He grew up working brutal days on the family farm. He later said that his childhood was nothing but long days of work and short nights of sleep, but those chores built the arm that would terrify hitters. Shucking corn strengthened his wrists. Throwing rocks at clothespins gave him pinpoint control. By the time he was a teenager, Alexander had developed a curveball so sharp it seemed to fall off of a table. He didn't start as a baseball star. In fact, he worked as a telephone lineman, playing ball only on weekends. Then in 1909, pitching for a small minor league team in Galesburg, Illinois, everything changed. Alexander threw a no-hitter, struck out 10, and began gaining attention. Just days later, he pitched 18 innings in a 1-0 victory, striking out 19 batters. But that same season nearly ended his career, and maybe changed his life forever. While trying to break up a double play, a throw struck Alexander square in the temple, knocking him unconscious for nearly 2 days. When he woke up, he suffered double vision for months. Some later believed the injury triggered the epilepsy that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Despite it all, Alexander reached the majors in 1911 with the Philadelphia Phillies and immediately made history. His rookie season was unbelievable. 28 wins, 227 strikeouts, and 31 complete games. It remains one of the greatest rookie pitching seasons ever. Soon, he stood alongside legends like Ty Cobb and Christy Mathewson as one of the defining players of the dead ball era. From 1915 to 1917, Alexander completely dominated the National League. In 1915, he went 31-10 with a microscopic 1.22 ERA, winning the pitching triple crown. A year later, he won 33 games and threw 16 shutouts, a National League record that still stands. Hitters simply had no answer for his devastating curveball and perfect control. But then, the world went to war. When the United States entered World War I, Alexander left baseball to serve in the artillery. Months of constant bombardment left him partially deaf, shell-shocked, and physically damaged. When he returned, he was still brilliant, but he was no longer the same man. Alexander began drinking heavily while secretly battling epilepsy. Alcohol became his way of coping with the war and the seizures he tried desperately to hide. Yet even then, he could still produce moments of greatness. In the 1926 World Series, pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals, Alexander delivered one of the most dramatic moments in baseball history. In Game 7, he entered with the bases loaded and struck out future Hall of Famer Tony Lazzeri to save the championship. By the time he retired, Alexander had won 373 games, thrown 90 shutouts, and cemented himself as one of the greatest pitchers the game had ever seen. But his life after baseball unraveled. Alcohol, illness, and poverty followed him for years, even after being elected to the Hall of Fame in 1938. He once sadly admitted, "I'm proud to be there, but I can't eat the Hall of Fame." Grover Cleveland Alexander died in 1950, at age 63. He had reached the very top of baseball and fallen further than almost anyone who's ever played the game. A legendary pitcher, a tortured soul, and perhaps the most tragic superstar the sport has ever known.